I'm Shadi Brookings here in Washington, D.C. I'm an author of a new book called Nations of Power, Islamists and Illiberal Democracy. Has been on the role of Islamist movements in the democratic process, with a particular the Muslim Brotherhood. So I think that we're entering a Salafi jihadi moment in the Middle East. Extremist groups are gaining ground. Now we've seen the so-called establishment of a caliphate by ISIS in large swaths of territory in Iraq. And so very I think one of the key questions here is about the more moderate or the mainstream Islamist groups that are maybe problematic in their own way. They're generated violence working through the democratic process. What about them? So groups like Brotherhood, its descendants across suffered a relative decline in the past years of the military coup against Muhammad, and they're less of a we've the strength. They say the Muslim Brotherhood, they're very gradual. They want through the messiness of the democratic process. So these extremist groups are saying, forget the gradualist approach. We establish this state through violence, or it happened in many of these cases over the past 2 years, and not just on the but also the part of autocratic regimes aren't offering or but what is more repression. The lesson they the fall of Mubarak was they were soft too easily. To do is hold on for dear life. I'll just say that I think the Islamic tradition is very multifaceted, and there's not one Islam. So you can have one Muslim at the Quran tradition, certain conclusion, but then a different conclusion. We hope that the more moderate nations are the one most currency. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and unfortunately, extremists have their own justifications, and they point to the text too, distort the message in a way. But ultimately, I think that that's the challenge in Islam today, is that unlike Catholicism, for example, the central or mosque Muslims have. So we've had a democracy of Islamic thought. Everyone is doing it on their own, and you have a lot of preachers that maybe aren't very well qualified, and they're very go in a troubling direction. So this is the challenge that we have. I think it's certainly possible that the U.S., Europe, and countries like Turkey, and there's certainly leadership fund terrorism, and with the Obama administration, kind of education that I think can help promote more pluralism. That's certainly part of it. Lose sight of the fact that to do with politics. If young Muslims are angry and frustrated and they don't have outlets to express their grievances, then naturally they're be susceptible to extremist. So the educational side, we can't forget the side as well. Sure, I think part of the problem here is that the Obama administration least nuisance. They more involved. Obama himself, his legacy is extracted the U.S. from two costly, tragic wars. So kind of brings back the middle of things. Obama, I think, has a fundamental, almost philosophical resistance. This administration is not in a position to play a more strategic, because that's not what Obama wants to be doing. I think that suffered the Middle East very much from Obama's lack of strategic. This very out the approach. You wait to burn, then you win, probably too late. And I think the hope is going forward, there might be a aggressive interventionism, destructive, but I think Obama's approach has also been problematic. I would like to think, and I hope there is, a middle between those. We can find that golden middle. Yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic in the long run. I think that people gravitate toward political freedom, that autocrats don't last forever, because it's people are going to ask to vote for their own leaders and representatives. I just think getting there is going to be, and the Americans themselves went through a very devastating civil war. Many countries have to go through a violent period before they realize that they have to live together. They don't have to agree with each other. They don't have to like each other. They can have different ideas, but they're shared to resolving through the democratic process. And I think at some point, much bloodshed, realize the peaceful approach is the best approach. I hope positive messages of Islam will gain ground. That's where we are. I think that there's going to be a interim period of considerable violence. Yeah, I mean, in the long run, I do think that this bends in a positive direction as this. But we have to wait, and there has to be patience. But the international community has to do more. I think the point is well taken as well, that with all the money that has been used, for example, the invasion in Iraq, the war in Iraq, and the devastation that resulted, and the atmosphere in our own country here in the U.S., but also and seeing the after effects and the legacy of seeing the rise of in Iraq. So I think that, you know, it's, and if the Iraq War hadn't happened and the nation had used those, you know, those billions of dollars for a better, different cause, then maybe things would have been quite a bit different. Yeah.